it's really hard work, and it's not 9 to 5. If you don't put the hard work into it, from the outside, it always looks nice and fluffy.
Who would you like to be on a stage with? Who's this person to be?
For me, my highest commodity is freedom.
What are your relationship with your parents now?
If it doesn't burn, it's not gonna do anything, right? Every time you come to my table and you smile, you know it's really scary. Your dreams don't scare you. You don't dream hard enough. Yeah. Chipped is better than perfect. Tell it to a fashion designers and they get a heart attack.
We would ask your team to describe you with one word. What would that be?
Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
First, thanks for having the time for chat with us. And the first question we always like to ask is because you're doing so many different projects and you're going so many different events. When people stop and ask you, hey, Lisa, what are you doing? How do you introduce yourself?
Well, so my name is Lisa Lang. I'm the founder of Electric Couture and the Powerhouse. So I work in the whole section of like fashion technology. And the exciting thing about it is like it's the intersection of two industries which collide, and two industries who like haven't like really noticed each other, but they're actually really dependent on each other. And when they become friends, they can do a lot. But even though the word of technology in this is this thing, it's actually not that much about technology because we can do everything with tech. It's actually about the people. And that's what I'm mostly really passionate about it. This is about education, inspiration, and innovation is because the machines we can reprogram. Yeah. But we have to focus on the people first to get out of two industries which are very focused and say like, oh, there is something else over there. There might be people who think differently and have been trained differently. But that's what I say. It's like fashion designers, start watching science fiction. That's like the first step, right? Because the market needs those products of a technologist and a fashion designers together.
Well, that's a hell of a mouthful to introduction. That gives very.
I really like this comment. Like, start watching the.
Sci-fi movies.
Exactly. We had an interesting comment from a Navitrola saying, start listening to the poetry because in the poetry you have this.
Yeah.
You know.
It's about doing something different because like innovation is all about getting out of your comfort zone. And it's all about traveling somewhere else, getting an impression about somewhere else, right? And it's like, if you look at the inspiration and innovation journeys of like all of the, you know, the big projects in the last hundreds of years, if you look into the history, there was people who like went somewhere else. You know, if you look at the impressionist designers and painters, they were actually traveling all across Europe, you know, to like look at different colors, you know, get a different impression. There were also all like a lot of parties and hanging out with people involved. I mean, like same, it's still the same. But the core principle is get out of your comfort zone, mingle with other people, and then make it your own. And that's really important. And again, you can't blame it or you can't push it to technology because it's all about in our head, people.
Yeah. But
Options.
but you mentioned so many times the comfort zone part, and I truly believe that's the step that people are most hang off. They like their jobs. They're 20 years and they don't want to change. But what were your first steps out of the comfort zone? Where did you start to see that I'm in my comfort zone and now I need to do something different?
Well, so let me explain. So like I always worked like in technology and in startups, but I was more like, especially as a woman, I was always like the operation project manager, caretaker kind of like person. So I always thought like, okay, you know, I'm just like, I can be your bulldog and just like organize everything. And I've never really like seen myself being like the leader. Also because that was the way how I've been raised. Like, you know, I grew up in a craftsman family. I was raised to be like a good housewife. I mean, I can cook, I can sew, I can, you know, do needlework and something like that. So that is actually really handy in my trade now.
That's an excellent
And my husband is really happy when I cook, like when I have time, because like I can actually really cook and bake really well. But the thing was, so like I never was like, oh, you know, I'm gonna have my own company. it because I wasn't trained, it wasn't like the thing. It's like, it was really, really, really long process because I always thought I will be comfortable just being in the background and, just like cleaning everything up and taking care of people. To a certain point, getting older, more experienced, and kind of like getting really like, what he just did is stupid. I would do it differently. And like, it happened more and more and more and more. And then I like, because like as you're getting older, you get like more, confident. And so like, and then you speak up and then you get in trouble. And I was like, yeah, no, but it's like a shit. Like, it doesn't work. And, but also like, again, I've been raised to be very gentle, very quiet. I actually was a really shy child. I was really quiet and because especially as a woman, I grew up in countryside Germany. So you don't do like the speaking up. You have to be a lady. You have like, my mom also always was like, make sure you have a tissue with you. And always say thank you and please and thank you. So like as a woman being raised, not being allowed to say, this is what I want. So it took me a very long time to actually get over it. And the good thing for me was like, because I traveled and worked all across the world. So for me, it's like I lived in Australia for 5 years. So that's where I got like my shiny, funny, attitude from. I got a lot of sun and Australian beer. It's a mixed therapy. But the thing was, so it was a really, really long journey to the point where, mind you, I was working in like technology startups in e-commerce and online publishing, education, something like that. The thing fashion tech was like, like nobody was like, what? So it was a very artistic kind of thing. But it got to a point where I got really, really frustrated. And being frustrated and being really angry at something and not finding something you really, really, really want on the market, for me, that really worked because I got so frustrated that my fear of doing something on my own was like less than like, I really have to fix this. Like, why is something like that not there? And for me, it was like, because I'm an engineer, I worked in software engineering, I can still tell the boys, like, dude, you really have to deploy this, you have to test it. It's like, don't F with me, right? On the other side, it was like, okay, good design, good user interface design is actually also really important. So I was like, to a point where I said, it was in my early 30s, why can I look smart and pretty at the same time? And that's where it started. And then, and the rest is history. Is because, for me, it was really good is because back then I moved back to Berlin. And the good thing for me was like, I had an ecosystem. The ecosystem was like that we had like Fab Labs, like an open workshop area. It's like a co-working space for hardware. Oh, okay. So you have like laser cutter and CNC machines. It's a open source concept from MIT. So like everyone can open a Fab Lab. Yeah. It's just about, it has to be inclusive for everyone. So it has to have access to machines and you need to teach people to use those machines. And that was really good for me. And so the way how I started my company was like, I didn't raise money because I knew woman, hardware, fashion tech, single founder, everybody is gonna be like, you are crazy. So I made a very conscious decision that I will rather spend my time not fundraising, because for everybody who's done fundraising before knows it's a mind, soul destroying process and it takes a lot out of you and it takes all of the time you've got. And I said like, no, I'm gonna spend all of the time I have to develop my company. But also because like I was just like trying to figure out like where is the money. So like, I spent a lot of time watching Shark Tank. Ah, nice. And I was like following, even though we kind of like love, hate, Mr. Wonderful. Mm-hmm. But there was like one of the best advices he gave me was like, follow the money. Yeah. So my business model was actually totally different from, the products I developed, because, the B2C products were really good for marketing because it was sexy, it was glowing, press loved it, but like you can't scale something like that yet. Mm-hmm. But the money was somewhere else. And because I had so many restrictions, which is actually I take as an advantage, mm-hmm. and so little time also, because keep in mind, like I was still working. I had like a full-time job. when I started Electrocouture, my first company, I worked in a normal job and I spent all of my time at night and on the weekend in the workshop. Because I wanted to know, like, okay, is that a hobby? Because if your business can't sustain yourself and your team, then it's a hobby, it's not a business. And so I was just like growing it for over years in the background and just tinkering and like finding it out. And, you know, it's just like, so how can I make money here and how can I make money there? And it kind of sounds like, you know, like the whole pioneer way, because like, of course, it's like really hard. But on the other side, it was actually one of the most, amazing, funny times, because you have like 10 panic attacks a day minimum before breakfast, and that is totally normal. No, it's just like Richard Branson. There was like one of the things is like, so I always had like these quotes, and like Richard Branson always said, it's like, if your dreams don't scare you, you don't dream hard enough. Yeah. See, the thing is, here comes my quote, is like, nerves are like muscles. You can train them. This is like fitness studio, right? Like all of the little things is like, just throwing me off like, oh my God. You know, like, oh, you know, but by now I'm a little bit more zen. I'm just like, you know, we figured out everything by now that way. So, and in the end of the day, again, you're still just dealing with people. That's also the thing. It's like, especially when you get started, looking at corporates, at big companies, at big brands, like with like, you know, big visionaries, let me tell you, they're all humans. And that is something also, they want all to be treated like as humans. And that is like the first step. It's just like, if you just, you know, are able to make a human connection with somebody, and that means you don't have to go into a room and throw a confetti bomb. You can just like be really, you know, really genuine, said like, look, what's going on? You know, listen to people and figure it out. Sometimes that means it takes a little bit longer, right? But, you know, there's also one thing I've learned is like being patient. I'm really struggling with that. But being patient, because good things, my grandma always said, good things take a while. So, you know, that's the thing, especially in Europe, that's the thing, is, you know, in the US, they always like say like, oh, you have to be quick. It's like, no. Let me tell you, it's fine that things take a while. Because if you want to focus on quality, and I utterly, totally believe that quality will bring you far longer, and, you know, and will give you far more love from your customers than quick and cheap. Right.
So it is like quality over money, right? It's like, don't go for fast money, go to the long-term relationships instead of a fast money.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends what your mindset is. So everything starts like, what do you want to do and what makes you happy, right? Yep. So like, I started this because I was very, very fascinated about a topic. Yep. And because I found a niche. And of course, I did a lot of research. When I started the company, I just started my MBA, market analysis and the SWOT analysis, and I felt very fancy, and it was very helpful to have those tools. And then in the middle of the course, I was like, you know what, I just have to do it.
Let's do it, right?
Let's do it, right. But it also was like really scary for me. It's just like, at that moment, a lot of things happened in my personal situation. The company I worked for did a restructuring, and I don't want to be a part of it. The Fab Lab in Berlin, they just expanded. So they had like the first co-working space for hardware. Before that, it was a very small place where you just like could go there, but you couldn't store anything. And the other thing is like, I had a potential customer who saw me somewhere else and said like, could you please do this for me? I would pay you for it. So like, for me, the timing was right. You know, it still felt scary, and I was only eating like bread and water for like the first year, and I did it. But it's fine, you know, you can survive with that. And yeah. I mean, because see, the thing is like also like enjoy the journey. Absolutely. Because you can tell your children and your grandchildren about it. You know, back then in the time when we walked barefoot 10 meters snow to the office, back then, So it's good. It's because it's, you want to tell stories at a party. Of course, can do businesses who do like very quick, very cheap. But my question is, what do you want to do and what makes you happy?
I would like to ask you a question about you mentioned that follow the money advice, right?
Yeah.
And also from other side, say what makes you happy.
Yeah.
And how to find this middle, this best middle, the golden middle, whatever it is, like how to go for the money and be happy. What is the answer?
Well, I think for everyone, especially, for the young kids in their 20s out there, it's totally fine that you don't know it yet. It takes time. And you're totally allowed to change your mind. And for the 50, 60, 70 plus people, it's totally fine. So it's like, when I talk with people, I love to ask them the question is like, if time, money, family, country, society, whatsoever, doesn't matter, what would you really like to do? And that's your answer now. And in 5 minutes, in 5 years, it can be totally different. It's just important to even think about it, what makes you happy. So it can be like, for instance, because if you know your true north, like in lean management, you always set, the true north, like your northern star. Because when you sit in the corner and cry and scream, like, why the F am I doing this? And that will happen all the time. If you're not getting to that breaking point, you're doing something wrong. And it's not a failure. It's actually, again, muscle. Yep. Because for everybody who's been in a fitness club, if it doesn't burn, it's not going to do anything, right? But it doesn't have to burn crazy so it kills you. It can be like your goal in 10 years that, you want to be on a boat in the Caribbean and, throw money over the board. Yes.
Hello, Richard.
Yeah. Well, look, see, the thing is like with Richard, it's like he didn't do that for the money.
No, he never done it for money.
See,
he is always on the edge.
Yeah.
Always.
And a lot of mistakes show that, and a lot of successes show that.
Yep.
The thing is like what I always, for me is always like I never did it for the money. Like, yes, money is a part of the network and it's, good to have money. But if the only thing in life what you want is money, then the only thing what you will get in life is money.
Oh, wow.
And that is not enough. Let me tell you, that's not enough. There's so much more. Impact. I think impact and changing something, meeting people. This is the reason when I do my presentations, and this is why, innovative education is really important to me, is that I give ideas to other people so they can do that, So if I would like have it for myself, I mean, I can't clone myself. I've been trying that for many years, still kind of like works. But, I can't do all of that myself. So like giving something and so like, you do that. Come on, be inspired. Because I've been inspired by a lot of people. Also, the reason why a lot of industries are like in lockdown or like stiff or have been disrupted is because we don't talk, we don't share. And, coming back to my topic, it's like fashion tech. This is the reason why fashion as an industry is so ripe to be plucked and disturbed and like, given to other people is because they've been taught not to share, not to teamwork, not to, share inspiration. And that in our time, it's just like an absolutely no-go because everything is a remix.
That's the problem of the big companies. They're now going bankrupt because they have this NDA and the structures, they don't communicate between each other. There are the secrets on a different levels.
Yeah.
And in the same time, there is like a Google who have no secrets, right?
Yeah.
They all communicate and that's why they grow and they will grow endlessly. Yeah. So that's the revolution, the revolution of communication between people and organizations, which I love. It's an amazing idea.
Perfect. But you mentioned a lot of times the failures and the mindset and all of those parts. So that's one of my favorite topics to talk. Like I'm pretty sure you had your full amount of failures, but yeah. But my question is like, how do you come out of that? How do you motivate yourself? Like you wanted to fundraise and then you failed, like 100 VC said no, or whatever the things are. Like, how do you keep coming up? No, I need to do this. I know it's
the thing is, like, I'm so glad that I didn't have like the thing with like the venture capitalists. Like, I've been thinking about raising money several times, and I've done conversations, but I always decided like it's not ready, it's not done. Also because like for me, my highest commodity is freedom. And so like my husband and me, that's like one of the things is like when we got married, like we sat down and we talked about what kind of lifestyle are we going to live. And we decided like we want to travel, we want to be surrounded by good people, and we want to have our freedom. And that sets your true north, because that in the moment where like, what if am I doing this, or like, am I doing it right or wrong? If you look up to the Northern Star, it's like to remind yourself, this is why I'm doing it. Right? It's just like really good to set it that way. And it got adjusted a little bit, but like that was always like my driving bit of that. And it also, at the same time, it gave me a lot of freedom to adjust. The thing is, because like in the beginning, especially in my 20s, like I considered myself being like a perfectionist and a control freak. And I thought it was something positive because I was a project manager and I was like, shooting people and something like that, in foosball table and in table foosball games and something, so like there was the thing is like the developers, and I was like, okay, so like, if I'm gonna win that game, you're gonna like fucking deploy that shit, right?
I know those games, right? Yeah. So you got your things done there, right?
Well, yeah, so
you won a lot of football games, I assume.
Well, see, the thing is, like in Australia, the funny thing is because, like, also like the thing is in English because you don't have like male, female language. It's just like So I was always like the German, and for them it was so funny because like one of the developers was like, every time you come to my table and you smile, it's really scary. And I was like, okay, because me as a German back then, I got like Australianized over the years, but like in the first years, I was always like, okay, Lisa, you have to smile. And then you have to ask a question about like, how was the family and something like that. And then you can cut to the chase. Usually I just go, hey, you. So like, and I'm now balanced on that mix. So, sorry, what was the question? Okay. Yeah, no, see, the thing is, so I killed myself over and over with it, and I cried, and I was fighting, and it tore my heart away, and it's like, and now like again, experiencing over the years, I was just like, everybody has something what is called an inner saboteur. So like, the bad voice is like, you're not good enough. Ooh. See, the thing is like, I grew up in the countryside, from a, humble upbringing, craftsman family, something like that. And I always had advice, who the F do you think you are? That you think you can go on stage? That you think you can do this? People will laugh at you, and it did. People will think you can't do this. And, and they told me that in their face. But the thing is for me is because I was so curious and passionate and frustrated about the topic, I didn't care because I was like, well, I'm having fun most of the time. And I was so fascinated about like, there's something. I was always like, this is not about like the whole world. It's like, I found a little tiny niche and I can fucking rule it because this is my little glowing kingdom. And it's totally fine. And I had a lot of really, really good people around me. So, my husband, amazing guy. I mean, he's Australian, right? Poor guy, but, marrying a German. But he with his positive attitude, but also he was like, I believe in you. Like, this is mindset. It was always mindset. And I have, good friends. I have a really good business coach. I had like mentors. But I was also like giving back and teaching. So like all of that balance, having an ecosystem of people around me really helped, and having like an outlet. Now it's different. If you would have asked me that question like 5-10 years ago, I would have answered it differently. What I'm doing now is just like, well, what's the definition of failure? Because in the mindset of Kaizen, it's like the Japanese mindset of like continuous improvement. Failure is a tool to make you feel better, right? So it's the same thing about giving feedback, for instance. Giving feedback, when a German gives you feedback, even though it feels like they want to crush you and make you cry.
Hey, you. But
What the hell?
Yeah, it's like,
that's a feedback. We're starting with F.
The thing is, like, from my, at least from my side, it's like, I want to give you constructive feedback so you can improve, because improvement is very important. Always be better, always be better. And I think like the culture I came from was really holding me down. It's like, because, you know, you're not allowed, or like, you know, you're not allowed to, again, being a woman in business, you're not allowed to not look like a lady, or you're not allowed to like ask for help, because you always have to like, you know, just be the quiet one. And then for me, going out and say like, well, you know, I need this, I can ask for it. What's the worst thing what they can do is saying no, right? Failure in whatsoever is like, it's always not gonna be like an easy bit, but for people who try to avoid it, these are the people who never will, you know, go beyond. It's a part of the game. And by now I'm just kind of like a kickboxer. I'm just like, okay, come on, give me another shot. Yeah, come on, try. You know, you've tried it last time. Let's see if we can do it again. Oh, you came from this side. I didn't see that. Okay, let's do it that way. So it's a little bit more like a game. Yeah. And I think because I'm more experienced and went through that wheel so many times, I would, like, of course, you're never perfect. That's like one of the things, you know, shipped is better than perfect. Tell it to a fashion designers and they get a heart attack, by the way.
Caption. I think that's a teachable moment.
Yeah, do that. Just like, you know, just like, so it's like, hey, you're a fashion designer. Yeah. You know, shipped is better than perfect. Yeah. I'll promise you, you have like a 9 out of 10. You know, it's like, no. It's like, yeah, that's why you've been standing still for 30 years, darling.
You've been raised as a shy kid and so on and so on. What are your relationship with your parents now? How do you do that?
Well, the interesting thing is I think my parents still trying to figure out what the F I'm actually doing, because it's so far away from their reality. You know, again, craftsman family and something like that. Also because I've been changing, you know, I was in software engineering, I lived in other countries. I actually studied arts and then software engineering, and then I did an MBA, and they were like, you know, it was this is too fast, right? So it was really, so one of the things is the region from where I come from is it used to be really, you know, important for textile. And my grandfather actually was a weaver. And my grandfather worked on weaving machines. And so, and what I did, because I have the whole digital training, we actually hacked industrial knitting machines. Because knitting machines back in the day, they worked on hole punching cards, the same as like computers. And I was like, okay, good. So machine, like I understand, you know. Now on the point where like you can give me a photo and I can knit you that, you know, in a blanket or in a sweater. So I took a picture from my grandfather's favorite landscape pictures from like our region, and I knitted it. And that was really cool because I knitted it on one of the machines he used to work with, because like they're this old, this is the thing about like mechanical machines, because they're like, you know, mechanical engineering is like, you know, it's indestructible, especially like the European weaving and embroidery and machines. So, so at the end of the thing, it's like, so I didn't disrupt it. I just like, you know, listen to the machines like, oh, you know, do you want to like tell me like, oh, okay, so that's how it works. And I just added a digital layer and a story on top of it. So like I didn't have to build another machines or something like that. So, and it was really funny, like at his birthday, I gave him his blanket and he was like, oh, cool. So this is this machine. Like, can you look like, and then we're like, okay, so do you see like, here's like, if you look needle 39, look at it. I think it's a little bit lazy. And then it was really cool because it's kind of like, you know, 2 generations of engineers uniting on the same item, but it was produced in a different way, but still the same. And that was pretty cool. But it took a while. So it's like, of course, a thing is, especially in our generation, the gap between our parents and us is even more, because we had like this digital internet thing happen, and it's not gonna go away. So that is like an extra break. But they always ask me like, "Are you happy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm having the time of my life, right? So I'm totally fine."
Yeah, but again, like you're talking about with your grandparents, and then it seems like you're going back to the roots, so to say. What now? But that's why my question is, the queen in the area you are now in the fashion and the technical side, like how that world works, or what makes it exciting about you, about that field, more exciting?
Well, see, the thing is, on the one side, is like, for me, understanding, because like having worked in an industry which disrupted a lot of, like a very young industry, like let's keep in mind that like digital internet is very young. It's kind of like, it's not even a punk teenager with pimples. It's like still, the crazy kid in the sandbox thinking it's like, this is my world, right? So, but it has such an impact. And because I've seen the core principle of disruption in all of the other industries, and then kind of like almost by accident stumbling over this very, very, very old industry, which has huge impact in Europe, also in Estonia, of course, same thing, textile industry, production, all of that. And I was like, and it was really funny at a point where I remember like that, like 4 or 5 years ago, when I said that, it totally hit me, and it was a really weird moment, because I kind of felt like the time around me is going slower, and everybody around me is sleeping, and I had like a spotlight, and I heard like angels sing. So I was just kind of like, wait, because I was like working on it, and like it's like something, and I was like, wait. This is gonna get changed. And it's now happening. I was just like 4 or 5 years earlier. But I also, studying from like how those disruptors have been treated and felt and had the obstacles, I just knew like this is not gonna be easy. They're gonna throw shit at me. And they're gonna be really shady, and and bitchy, and they are. Because people who are in industry they've been in for a very long time, they're very afraid of change. And when people are afraid, they block and they become aggressive. So the thing is like, and this is why I want always kind of want to be careful with the word disruption. It's maybe also like my female take on it. It's like, I rather like to go with nature than just like smash people into the ground, So this is also like, again, this is not about that I burn down your machines. This is about that I have to deal with you as a person. And I think this is also like our success even though it takes longer, and even though I deliberately decided that we are not gonna go on the runway, I said like, do you know what? The background, me being a back-end engineer, like the back-end is far more interesting because it's the power. Because we know when the world is going down, make sure one of your best friends is a system engineer, because because in the server rooms, they are the ones who can survive.
Yep.
Nobody else. So that is the thing. Is like, and also, again, the producers, music industry, something like that, the people in the background, these are actually the people who are really, really powerful. Of course, there is a coexistence between the people on stage. But again, I made for myself a decision. I said like, what do I want to do? And what kind of position do I want to fulfill? And I said like, I don't see myself or our work on the runway, because I actually see myself as an enabler going with nature, with the existing companies, and say like, I am here to help you. I'm not gonna threaten you. I'm not gonna destroy you. I'm here to help. But I'll tell you, you have a short amount of time. And if you wanna that is the other thing, if you wanna throw me politics and bitchiness and attitude, I will be out here in 10 seconds, because believe me, you're not the only one with that problem. And that's really, really interesting. On the other side, also away from the big companies, it's like people. And this is why more and more, this is like so exciting for me, like, because like of the journey I've been doing, it's like, because it's like in the end of the day, it's like, it's the art and science of touching people's heart and understanding it. And we have like customers who they've seen me on stage 3-4 years ago, and they're now coming back because they said like, look, back then I will never forget, but you know, we are just ready now. And that's the thing, it's just like, you know, just throwing little stones into the water and they just make circles, right? So this is the thing is by now, it's like that I'm a little bit more zen because I know the market, I know and I have enough background information, and I'm just gonna be like kind of like the dark matter in the background, you know. I love science fiction. It's just the kind of thing. It has more impact.
I have a question. If we would ask your team to describe you with one word, what would that be?
Hardcore.
Hardcore.
And then trance music is in the background.
Now, see, the thing is also, it's like, and I think I'm really comfortable also about that because even though, you know, it's like, I'm you know, I'm getting excited and, you know, I'm lovely and smiling and something like that, but I'm very, very, very serious about that. Mm-hmm. And I'm throwing, and I have thrown myself 150% into this. Mm. And I'm very impatient and I'm very focused and I'm very disciplined. And I've burned a lot of people because they just couldn't go, you know, with me and pick up with me. Or just like, it was, so that's the thing. I was just like, I got a lot of feedback. It's like, this is just too hardcore. I'm just like, yeah. So especially when you work with people out of the creative industry, is because bottling up creativity is really, really difficult. And because I studied arts also, I know that like it takes a lot of discipline being creative like on the spot. Mm-hmm. Right? This is also like the success because like if you look at a lot of people who are successful in the creative space, the balance of hardworking disciplines and the talent has to come together. You can't tell me that people just say like, oh, I just like by accident stumbled into this and it just kind of happened. They might tell you that in front of the camera and on stage, so they look like humble, right? But there's always hard work and discipline. And it includes, for instance, respond to emails. When you meet people, when you go to an event, go on your, you know, network of choice and connect with them. Write follow-up emails. If somebody says like, oh, I really like this, can you please send me more information? You make a bloody note and you send them an information. You see opportunities all the time, so you just throw as much as you can against the wall all the time. If you don't put the hard work into it, from the outside, it always looks nice and fluffy and cool. Yeah, because they're talking it down. But in the end of the day, everybody is bloody hardcore. Right?
I'm so much in love with your idea right now. I'm so much in love with it. Just do your work, like be a hunter, like go and...
Yeah. This is like what a lot of people understand. See, this is also like important. It's like entrepreneurship is not a fucking television series, right? It's not bubbles. This is like, so you see like the success is what you see from all of the people. This is the top. It's not even like the spit of the iceberg. It's like the ice crystal on top of the iceberg, because the rest 99% is like failure, cold calls, fucking bullshit all the time. I can tell you, you know, like people have thrown at us, you know, and with customers, again, when you deal with people, you know, and also, you know, people don't deliberately want to be assholes because they have like, again, they're in an ecosystem. There is like reaction, trigger reaction all the time, right? But this is the thing. It's really hard work, and it's not 9 to 5. This is the thing, is because shit is happening all the time, and if you're okay with that, to having that lifestyle, and it's not only for the 20-something, you can do that as a family father, as a mother, you can do that. It's just you just have to make a choice in terms of lifestyle and mindset, but it's freaking hardcore. Like, what else? Success doesn't come overnight, and anybody else who tells you that is fucking lying.
Yeah, I think the two words that I like to describe are adaptability and persistence. These are like the things, like you can work hard, but if you don't adapt, then you're working not smart, you're working stupidly. You have this blinders on and you just keep going, but it might be a totally wrong direction. But if your eyes are open, as you mentioned before, you talk with people, you go networking, you ask, you might get different perception. You might need to change the trajectory, but you're adapting and you're keeping it persistent. You have the North Star, but it might move a little bit. So I just wanted to clear, like I see that so many times, and especially in startup world. Like we are going this path and we don't listen to anybody else, and then we are broken and we didn't do the shit.
And to be honest, guilty. Yes, been there, done it. In the early times, like I always said, like, okay, I will respond to every email within 12 hours, and then like 24 hours, and then 36 hours, because we became more and more popular. And then I just totally changed the perspective, and I said like, I'm working for the outbox, not for the inbox. So it was more about like what I'm pushing back, setting priorities. My business coach, he also told me like there's this word like resilience. So it's like kind of like you get knocked down, you get up again, and adopt. You get knocked down, and all of that. And this is the whole thing about like in HR management, like find people who are resilient, and how do you train resilience? It's really, really difficult, but it's a combination of people understand the journey, people are passionate about the true Northern Star, right? And people have the ability to really also get like a balance in, right? I've seen a lot of people who just like kill themselves over the job because they weren't able to set priorities. Oh, I have, who is that? Like, I have so much to do, I don't have time for it. My answer is like, you haven't set your priorities right. And let me tell you, I'm telling that myself every day. Guilty, only because I'm saying like all of those fancy sentences. It's like, I've been through that and I'm still going through that every day. But that's the thing, is like, it's just like that, what do you really want to do? What do you really want to achieve as priority? And also, especially for the ones who like the 20-somethings who think they are, they're as strong as Arnold Schwarzenegger and they can go on places. It's like, it's also like your body and your mind, having an ecosystem around. I'm so lucky that I have people around me who have nothing to do with the startup industry, so we can just go there and, talk about fingernails or like, science fiction movies and something like that. And that is actually really important because for me, at least, is because I want to do this for a very, very long time. That also means like I have to be able to survive. So like just burning myself through. Also, the thing is, again, keep in mind that this startup industry where we think this is like, there is another reality out there. And again, the startup industry is not even the teenager, the punk teenager. We are still that little kid sitting in the sandbox thinking this is our own world. Let's just like do like the really big perspective and say like there are a lot of big industries out there. And we are a part of it. For us, it might feel like it, that this is like our own universe because the Facebook timeline algorithm is telling you that, right? And also at the same time, I like to do this exercise because it's really humbling. Because this is not about that like, oh, since the word startup has been invented, since then innovation has happened. No, innovation has happened all the time. Craftsmanship. All the time, you can learn so much. I'm a huge history nut. I love to learn about people who've done like mechanical innovation 20 years ago. I've just like this morning I watched a documentary about the innovation of the ship's turbines. Something.
Wow.
So so see like stuff like that. It's like so it kind of means like don't take yourself too serious, babes. But it doesn't mean that like, I can't say anything because I'm small. No. This is about like just, be aware in which universe you are. That's the most important thing. It always goes back to science fiction. Right?
Always. I have like one of the last questions for you. Like if you would be the one to choose who you'd like to be on a stage with, who's this person to be?
Well, the question is if they actually want to be on stage with it and can survive. I would love to be on stage with Coco Chanel, Astrid Lindgren, or Pippi Langstocking, and Captain Janeway. These are like I think Captain
Skyfy, Children, and then
yeah.
Idol.
That's That's whole. It's the whole thing, because especially I think Captain Janeway in terms of like female leadership has taught me like a lot. I know it's fiction, but it's it's a part about like thinking about it. How would you act in this situation? And then like many more. I won't say those standard people because I think they're very busy with going with other people on stage.
You never know.
We're gonna hashtag them. We're gonna cut it out. We're gonna hashtag.
Well, it's like again, we can make like kind of like holodecks, holograms. How they did it with Tubac. So like so we can with like artificial intelligence, something like that. Yeah, just give it like a couple of years and then we can do that.
All right. I have a question, like for the viewers, because we always share, like make some gifts to people who watch and who fan us. So, would you mind to go with one of the viewers for a lunch, dinner, or breakfast? Dinner with wine in the best restaurant. We cover it. For example, for a best comment for this video. So you're gonna choose the best comment and say, I really like, and this comment should be not about only commenting, but you also should throw some idea about the startups, whatever inside
Fashion tech or
fashion tech.
whatever.
Just an idea.
Also, like, don't blow sugar in my ass. Like, really, like, I don't. Like, it's just, I like have interesting conversations.
So let's do like that. Throw your best comment to make Lisa choose you. It doesn't really matter what you're gonna write. So she likes interesting conversation. So whatever comes to your mind now, throw it in
I
comments.
think the buzzword is Skyfy. Engineering is science fiction.
So let's see what's gonna come up, and we're gonna choose. And whenever next time you're here in Estonia.
Well, we are already planning the next time. Like I can't tell anything yet because it's really early. But like I was really inspired about this. Getting invited by the creative, by the Talent Creative Incubator. Like they're the ones who brought me here, and then like they took me on a journey to like startup days to Tartu, and as always, everywhere where I go, I see opportunities. So I find a couple of projects, and hopefully this year, I will come back and pick them up. And I was like, yes, absolutely. And as you've seen, I'm not afraid of snow. It's totally fine. I can deal with that.
Well, it's 4 months only with snow. Rest are bad ski weather. So
that's what.
But I can do it too. Don't worry.
Yeah, we especially were looking forward when you open your Estonian company and e-residency and all those things. Estonia is land of unicorns, so it's definitely a good place to be.
Yeah, I've heard only the good things about it, but also at the same time, it's just like, okay, let him just like dance a little bit, right? Let's bring a little bit of sparkle to it. But that's the thing also, I don't want to be too pushy because from my own experience, I know it takes a while. It's okay that it takes a while, because the Northern Star will be there for a long time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the interview.
Thank you so much.
It was amazing. Thank you.